The battle for LA is officially on. You are watching Lakers Report by Chat Sports, all things Lakers. I'm Hannah Kulik, aka Laker Han. Now, ever since Kawhi Leonard and Paul George decided to team up and go play for the Los Angeles Clippers, a lot of people are now saying that there is going to be a rivalry in LA like we have never seen before. And I know a lot of people are thinking, what rivalry? The Lakers are 16-time NBA champions, and the Clippers have never even really been able to get out of the first round of the playoffs. Even when they had their best squad a few years ago, when they had Chris Paul in this prime, they had Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Jamal Crawford, JJ Redick in their prime, they still were never able to make it far in the playoffs. So what competition really is there? But the fact of the matter is there has never been a time where the Clippers and the Lakers have both been at their best and successful and projected to be title contenders. And now that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have teamed up for the Clippers, and of course the Lakers have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, those two teams are now projected to be the top teams in the West. And while when the Lakers first traded for Anthony Davis, the Lakers were actually seen as the favorite to win the title next year, now that the Clippers officially have Kawhi and PG, they are now seen to have a little bit of an advantage. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but today I thought we could kind of break down these dynamic duos in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and LeBron James and Anthony Davis and see which LA team really does have the advantage and which LA team really is going to be better. But before we do, I want to take a quick second to remind you guys to make sure that you are subscribed here on Chat Sports and the new Chat Sports Lakers YouTube channel as well. It is going to be such an exciting season for us Laker fans, exciting off season. There's still some work to be done for us Laker fans to fill out this roster, and I want to make sure that you do not miss a single second of it. So make sure that you are subscribe down below here on Chat Sports and the new Chat Sports Lakers YouTube channel as well. But let's start breaking down Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Let's kind of focus a little bit more first on LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard, because those are two of kind of more the leaders when you look at these dynamic duos. Now, one of the biggest advantages that a lot of people are saying that the Clippers have over the Lakers is the fact that they have Kawhi and Paul George in their prime. They're only 28 and 29 years old respectively, and as we all know, LeBron James is going to be 35 in December, so a lot of people are questioning whether or not he is still going to be able to play at a high level now that he is getting older. They are also saying now that he is getting older, is he going to continue to struggle with injuries? Because for the first time in his career this past season for the Lakers, we did see LeBron be succumb to some injuries and miss a big amount of the season, which unfortunately did play a pretty big factor in our season, obviously. But that doesn't really make a lot of sense in my opinion, because if you were saying that a player is more likely to be injured purely because of their age, then why was the Lakers' young core so injured pretty much throughout their entire career? Doesn't really make sense. And if you're saying, oh, you know, LeBron James is more likely to get injured now that he is 35 or going to be 35, then what's Kawhi Leonard's excuse? You know, what's Paul George's excuse? He has definitely had his fair share of injuries, which we are going to talk about a little bit later on as well. But in my opinion, I think LeBron James is going to be going into this next season extremely refreshed, rejuvenated, and really ready to have an amazing season. You know, I think at the end of the day, the Lakers not making the playoffs was a blessing in disguise for LeBron, because we were never going to be able to win the NBA championship this past season, but we definitely have a shot this next year. And had LeBron played another season of 100+ games, his body would have been pretty darn tired, because the last 8 years LeBron James has been to 8 straight NBA finals. He has played in over 100 games these last 8 years, and his body just needed a break, and he was finally able to get it this summer. So I think LeBron is going to come back this next season with a vengeance. He's going to be rested, he's going to be rejuvenated, his body is going to be fully recovered. But I am curious, do you guys think that LeBron and the Lakers actually not making the playoffs this season was a blessing in disguise, because it gave LBJ more time to rest and recover and prepare for this upcoming season? If you do, type Y down below. If not, type N down below. Now let's also take a look at Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James' stats and really compare those two guys. Again, we are comparing LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard because those are two of the guys who are seen more so as the leaders right now, the two top guys on each team. Now looking at these two players' stats, LeBron James still had the advantage. He had a stellar stellar year last season stat-wise. He averaged 27.4 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, practically a triple-double, you guys. And especially, that's really impressive, especially when you look at the supporting cast that he had around him. Obviously, last season for the Lakers, every player was really struck with a lot of injuries. You know, there was a lot of, rotations going in and out. There was no real consistency in the rotations in the lineup. So the fact that LeBron James was still able to average such high stats is truly unbelievable. Now, comparing that to Kawhi Leonard, who is supposed to be probably, after last season, the best player in the NBA, you could see how LeBron James still had the advantage. Okay, yes, Kawhi had an amazing year last season for the Raptors. Stat-wise, he averaged 26 points per game, about 7 rebounds, and 3 assists, but still, LeBron James had the advantage there. And when you look at the fact that Kawhi also had a much more talented, much more stable supporting cast around him, this one easily goes to LeBron as winning last season stat-wise, which is funny because, like I said, people aren't considering Kawhi Leonard to be better than LeBron right now and the best player in the NBA. Now, I want to start comparing Paul George and Anthony Davis and bring those two guys into the mix now, because those are going to be, I guess if you can say, LeBron and Kawhi's right-hand man, but they're still superstars in their own right. So I want to talk a little bit about those two guys and compare those guys, break it down. But before we do, I have a very exciting announcement. If you guys like sports betting and if you would like to win a free jersey of your choice, any player from any team, message me right now on Instagram at Hannah Rose Kulik and or on Twitter at Hannah_Kulik, and I'm going to tell you how you can win a free jersey. You guys, it is so easy. I've already been able to give away so many jerseys. Super easy. So just message me right now on IG and or Twitter, and I will tell you all about how to win a free jersey. I'm so excited to be able to do this, and I'm so grateful for one of Chat Sports' sponsors for allowing me this opportunity to give you guys a free jersey. So message me right now, and let's get you guys all decked out in your favorite sports gear this season. But let's now talk a little bit about Paul George and Anthony Davis and really compare those two players. Let's start first with Paul George. Now, Paul George is going to be Kawhi Leonard's right-hand man this season for the Clippers. And last year for the Oklahoma City Thunder, it was said that he had his best season yet in his career. He averaged 28 points per game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. He was really playing at a very high level. However, he is not known to be a very efficient scorer. He only shot 43% from the floor last year, which is just around his career average, shooting around 43%, which is really nothing to be super proud about. Now, Paul George is considered to be one of the league's best two-way players. He's a very good defender. And something else with Paul George is, besides his gruesome leg injury a few years ago, he has been able to stay relatively healthy. Since coming back from that leg injury, he has played in at least 75 games or more these last couple of seasons, so he has been able to stay healthy. However, this past season, towards the end of the year, he did injure his shoulder, and he has recently had shoulder surgery. So it's going to be curious to see how he bounces back from that. I'm sure he's going to be fine, but that is something that is important to note. However, even though Paul George is considered to be a very good player, a very good two-way player, he does still definitely have some holes in his game, and he is not, a top 5 NBA player. Top 10, yes, but there are still players that are better than him, like Anthony Davis. Let's talk about Anthony Davis's career so far, especially last season, and really compare that to Paul George, because I truly believe that Anthony Davis is much better than Paul George, and Anthony Davis has the potential that if he stays healthy to be the best player in the league. He is only 26. He's just entering his prime. He hasn't even really hit his prime yet, which is scary because Anthony Davis has completely taken the NBA world by storm, and he is such a dominant player. The Lakers have truly seen nothing like him. He is such a special player. Now, while Paul George is considered to be one of the league's best wing defenders, Anthony Davis is considered to be one of the league's best overall defenders. He has more advantage when it comes to size. He's a better rim protector. He's a better shot blocker. He's one of the best shot blockers in the entire league. He has averaged 28 points for, throughout pretty much his entire career, except for last season. He only averaged 26 and 12, which was still pretty darn impressive, but he averaged a little bit less because he had a little bit of turmoil. There was a little bit of drama with the Pelicans and the New Orleans organization after he requested a trade right before the trade deadline. They actually benched him for most of the second half. So the fact that he was still able to average 26 and 12 just goes to show that he would have had a monster season had he been able to finish out the entire season and really play the entire season like he normally would have. Like I said, AD is also one of the league's best shot blockers. On his career, he has averaged 2.5 blocks per game. His size and his skill truly just make him unstoppable. So I think when you are looking at Anthony Davis and Paul George, Anthony Davis, in my opinion, clearly has the upper hand here, but I am curious, who do you think is a better player? If you think it's Anthony Davis, type AD down below, or if you think it is Paul George, type PG down below. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the biggest critiques on Anthony Davis, because there are a few concerns when it comes to AD and his health, but I don't really understand where that is coming from, because yes, in the beginning of his career, the first couple seasons, you did see him struggle a little bit with his health, but before this past season, the last 2 years, he was playing 75 games or more, so he was fully healthy. And again, I want to also clarify that this season, the reason he didn't play in as many games was not because of injury, but it was purely just because the Pelicans benched him after there was drama and turmoil when he requested the trade. They were being a little salty about it, so they didn't really play him as much, but it was not because he was not healthy at all. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about playoff experience with these 4 players. But before we do, I want to take a quick second to remind you guys to make sure to give me a follow on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with all things Lakers this summer and just to get in shape. I love to post workout videos and fitness tips on my Instagram, so make sure you are following me on IG at Hannah Rose Kulik and on Twitter at Hannah_Kulik. Okay, now let's compare playoff experience with these players. Obviously, we don't really need to go into extreme detail with Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James. We know that those two guys excel in the playoffs. Before this season, LeBron had been to 8 straight NBA Finals. That's never been done before. He's the only player to do it. He is a 3-time NBA champion, multiple finals MVP, and we have Kawhi Leonard, who is just coming off, NBA Finals champion, MVP of the finals. He also won a title back a couple years ago with San Antonio, where he was also MVP of that final. So we know those two guys excel in the playoffs, but let's talk about Paul George and Anthony Davis's playoff experience, because Paul George, for as good of a player as he is considered to be, has a reputation as choking during the playoffs. This past season for OKC, he only shot about 42% from the floor overall, 31% from 3, which is terrible. You want your player, even if he is not necessarily known to be the most efficient shooter, you want him to be able to bring those stats up in the playoffs when it really matters. And so far throughout his career, Paul George has never been the guy to prove to be able to be a leader in the playoffs. Now, Anthony Davis, on the other hand, even though he hasn't had maybe as much playoff experience as Paul George, the 2 times the New Orleans Pelicans did make the playoffs, he really excelled. He shot at least 52% from the floor. He averaged at least 30 points per game while also grabbing double-digit rebounds. So he proved that even at such a young age, he can still lead his team during the playoffs. So while PG, yes, may have a little bit more playoff experience, may have the upper hand in terms of playoff games played, Anthony Davis has the upper hand when it comes to leading your team in the playoffs, especially being more impressive because he was so young when he did it. So I think Anthony Davis easily outwins Paul George when it comes to who you would rather have on your team in the playoffs, and I think most people can agree with that, if you ask me. But another quick note, another quick thing to mention is the fact that there is a little bit of a mismatch when it comes to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, because they both play the same position. They both typically like to play small forward. So one of these players for this season for the Clippers is going to have to play more of the shooting guard, which I'm sure is going to be fine, but it's definitely not an ideal situation. You'd want your stars to be able to play in the position that they feel most comfortable in, where we have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are a perfect fit. LeBron prefers to play the small forward. We know that he can play every position, but he does prefer to play small forward. And of course, we have Anthony Davis, who can play power forward or center. So there's not going to be any mismatch there. Both guys are going to be able to play in their preferred position and are going to be able to excel in doing so. But at the end of the day, you guys, These 4 players are top 10 players in the NBA, and it's going to be very exciting watching the Clippers and the Lakers battle it out for the best team in LA. I personally think that if you are looking at the whole picture here, the Lakers roster is more deep, especially now that they just signed Avery Bradley. We still have one more spot available. If the Lakers are somehow able to pick up Iguodala, oh my goodness, they are going to have the deepest team, in my opinion, just in the entire NBA. So I think when you are looking at the overall picture of both teams, the Lakers have the advantage. They're the better team, they're the deeper team, but the Clippers are still going to be exciting to watch as well. But at the end of the day, being a Laker fan, I want the Lakers to crush the Clippers. That is going to be it for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe here on Chat Sports and the new Chat Sports Lakers YouTube channel so that you do not miss a single thing when it comes to our Los Angeles Lakers. Also, make sure to give this video a double thumbs up if you liked it. And until next time, Laker Han is out. Bye, guys.